Hey, peeps, you have entered the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, where I have intentional conversations that raises your awareness, which releases your innate abilities and leads you to purposeful action. You know there's more to life and you're worthy of it, and yet you feel stuck. This is your sign. Unstuck yourself with me, Crystal Simmons, certified coach, corporate facilitator, and dope human being. I'll be here every week. Will you? Hello, peeps. I know it's been so long. A lot has happened, and I have so many feelings. So I haven't recorded in 2 weeks. I never thought I would be that person to be at this point, but here we are. And for that, I am sorry for letting you down. If you were expecting these last 2 Wednesdays to have a new episode, I apologize for disappointing you if I have done that. The last 2 episodes we recorded pertained to money, my journey with money, me processing life in a whole new world. You know, that's my favorite song. When I recognize things are shifting, changing, and acknowledging I'm not that person I was when I left my corporate job. It was so fitting, and I didn't plan this per se for this to happen, to speak to 2 dope as F women who have knowledge and perspectives on a topic of money that I would say years ago I wasn't very intimidated by it or shameful about it, but in the last 2019 to 2022, for real, it was like heavy shame, heavy avoidance, heavy, it was new. It was very new. And I am thankful and grateful that I'm not the same person from 2019 through 2022. And I can acknowledge that there's still so much work that I want to focus on. So if you've been listening to the show, thank you. And if you're new to the show, thank you. I started my career in the medical field with one goal in mind: go to school. And then once I went to school, finish school. Once I finished school, get my job. Well, I did have my job while I was in school. And then make money to take care of myself, to provide things like shelter, food, outings. I didn't need a lot. I didn't want a lot. And if I'm honest, I didn't seek a lot. I didn't dream big. And as my career just progressed and me being so committed to my work ethics, committed to being reliable, committed to my values of caring for others and collaborating. I didn't know the word collaboration as well as I know now, but I really enjoyed my patients. I enjoyed working with my coworkers, those that I actually fucked with. And I continue to be blessed with opportunities to venture into another realm, the radiology field, make more money. And it just continued. And then becoming an instructor, which I loved. And again, not dreaming or wanting a lot. I always thought to be an instructor, you needed to have so many years, decades at least, of experience, and not valuing my experience and my connections that I have with my patients, my coworkers, the students that rotated through the hospitals and clinical sites. So I downplayed myself a lot. And fast forward 5-6 years later, I'm a clinical instructor. I applied for the clinical coordinator position, and I understand how to support individuals because I just was a radiologic technologist. I just experienced different hospitals' policies, their structure or lack thereof. So I had so much knowledge, but I downplayed myself. And in that clinical coordinator role, this is where the dialectic thinking of my brain comes in. Whereas I'm actually looking back, I didn't downplay myself. I actually spoke up and advocated for the support that I needed when I was I was a radiologic technologist, and the support that I saw that the current radiologic technologists and students working alongside them needed. And that advocacy put me in a box or a silo or an island by myself, which led to my frustration of why won't people listen to me? Why am I thinking differently than everybody else? And it wasn't even me wanting and pleading for them to see my side. It was pure frustration of why are we so divided? And me not being able to break my stride of my position and them as well. So we had this unspoken, uh, I'm saying all this now because I'm experiencing it in real time. So it is quite hilarious and ironic that I am here now and there back then. If you get that, you're dope AF. Okay. And recognizing the parallels of the past and the present, I do not wish my future to continue the cycle. So I have been doing a lot of asking for help. I have been doing a lot of acknowledging my strengths and where I can collaborate with others to support me because they may have areas of strengths that I just don't even see. I'm not even aware of that option is available. Much like me entering into medical field. I knew there were doctors, there were nurses, and custodial workers, possible people who worked at the cafeteria. Like it was very, very, very limited. My mother came home to tell me about a coworker of hers where they worked at DMV. Her coworker's daughter was an X-ray tech. Had no idea what that was. My mom shared that with me. And as soon as she told me, I'm like, oh, I'm visual. Oh, I get to see the bones. Oh, that would make so much sense. And it would be easier for me to understand it and learn it because I could actually follow up with it with the visualizations. And that intrigued me. Obviously, there's so much more to being a radiologic technologist and just performing standard diagnostic images of just like so much fluoroscopy, endoscopy. I'm so happy and so tooting my horn of remembering these these medical terms. I loved what I did. I really did. And acknowledging the stress of people maybe misreading you or misunderstanding you led me down a path of just feeling very lonely in this silo, feeling defeated, like I wasn't successful, even though I had all this success of just going from the clinical coordinator to the chief technologist of radiology, working with the director and recognizing, okay, I don't want to keep climbing this ladder. My awareness has peaked and this is it. The money's cool. However, there's so many different perspectives and so many different avenues I can go down. When you know better, you do better. So I start doing better. Which brings me back to today, real time. Why you haven't heard an episode from me on the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast in the last 2 weeks. I started learning more pertaining to money. Y'all have heard me speak about the Jackson Ward Collective, their Community Business Academy 12-week course that we just concluded this week. I'm gonna miss coming to that class from every Wednesday. What I did learn is I really thrive from structure and the quality of individuals that I spend my time with. Those other 19 individuals in that room have no idea how much they've given me, and I didn't even know I needed. And I'm so grateful for the Jackson Ward Collective for bringing the Community Business Academy to Richmond. This was the second cohort. And by far, for like lifelong friends, colleagues, experts, visionaries. I'm emotional because I'm grateful. And I'm also realizing that I have deprived myself of this feeling from trying to do everything myself or seeking the help of those who aren't able to provide that quality feeling that I'm speaking of. I knew signing up for the Community Business Academy with the Jackson Ward Collective was going to expand me. I just knew it. I started reading it. I went to the information session. They had things in place that relayed the message, we are not effing around. We have tools, we have resources, and we want to give them to you. However, we're not just giving it out to anybody. There are a certain caliber of individuals that we want to create this synergy weekly in order to expand, in order to inspire, in order to engage, in order to grow and be able to collaborate. They had that vision in mind. So they just had to say a few words, one of which is requiring the information session and also staying true to the deadline. So I knew I was signing up. And once I got in, I made some very, very intentional decisions, one of which discontinuing my affiliation, creativity, or collaboration with the Loving Me Through organization or group that me and two other individuals created. I wanted to make sure my energy would be valued and also expanded and not drained and used. So in making that decision, I knew it would free up an exponential amount of time, energy, freedom, relaxation, and it did that and more. And I'm forever grateful for that. In this whole process of 12 weeks, getting to know these amazing individuals and humans, we started getting into finances. And that was the second piece that I was like, oh, I'm signing up. Because I have been doing so much work on addressing my shame with money, addressing the trauma I experienced that I didn't fully address with leaving my corporate job, and even just being at that corporate job 2017 through 2019 and being dismissed, belittled, gaslit, all the things that I just didn't have the words for, but the feelings were strong and they were deep. And I'm so proud of myself for addressing it through therapy, communicating some of that here, which has been very, very cathartic and necessary. Conversations with my friends and my family, being open and not putting up this facade or mask of I'm good, I'm straight, happy, happy, happy. No, I'm tired. No, I don't want to do that. No, hey, I know this means a lot to you. And is there a different way, like compromising and being very vocal with love, with my necessities. That's been fun. And so, like, stress relieving. So as we start digging into our money, we get deep. And for those who may be applying, I don't want to give away too much. I'll just share. It excited me to go that deep because I had support and I had resources. I had 19 other individuals who were feeling, if not the same or similar, and that would express it. So we weren't putting up our facade or a mask like our business is good. It's like, no, I have a question about this. What does that mean? Or I've been afraid to do this. Like, you don't know how much you need that shit, especially if you've never had it. So if you never had that experience of being amongst people, maybe you do know or don't know, but you can openly discuss your fears, your hesitations, your moments of doubt, second guessing, and be met with, yo, I was thinking the same thing. That's crazy, right? And then you just keep it going. No one's trying to fix the other person. No one's trying to move on from the feeling. Y'all both sitting in that shit and like, yeah, and we're still dope as fuck. Shit is mm, that energy. So I'm looking at my finances and I'm recognizing, oh, okay, it's actually priced very reasonable. And if you've listened through many of these episodes, I like to talk openly about money because that's one of the biggest things that I feel like holds us back from learning more about money. If you're ashamed or embarrassed to talk about money, how are you supposed to seek those who have the knowledge, who have it, and we're in the same spot you were in? However, they notice, like, all right, well, me in this same spot can't get me out of this spot by myself. Like, it's going to take a different perspective, a different resource. You cannot get yourself out of a situation you are currently in by yourself without a different, new, innovative perspective. Like, that's just what it is. It's like cooking. We can all cook. And then someone teaches you, like, hey, did you know you can chop this? Did you know you can mince this way? Did you know you can use fresh herbs instead of dried herbs? What? Is there really a difference? Yeah, it's a huge difference. One isn't better than the other, but there's a big difference. Let me not go down the rabbit hole of food. Okay. As I'm digging into my finances for the Community Business Academy, I'm getting excited because I have resources, because I have support. And they're encouraging us to look at our expenses. Where can we cut expenses? Because my coaching business is online and the systems that I use, Acuity, Squarespace for my website, Acuity's for the payment collection, and then like Canva subscriptions, things like that that do not cost a lot. I might have to pay once a year instead of each month because that's just my preference. My profits make me very comfortable. And in recognizing that, I'm still thinking like, I'm looking at all my expenses. There's so many more I'm probably forgetting, like paying interest for credit cards for when I first started. I did not have the funds. Like I said, I left my job in 2019. I started professionally coaching in 2021, became certified in 2022. So I have debt and I have interest that I'm paying on that debt. And that I equate as an expense as well. But my highest expense is paying for editing for my podcast. And I'll tell you why. Being in the podcast world, I've heard so many individuals speak about those are really dope, talented editors, producers for the podcast, but they don't get paid well. And since I'm an advocate for people receiving their worth and value, my editor, Michael, when we first spoke, he quoted me a number and I was like, no, we're not doing that. That's way too low. Because I had been editing my podcast episodes for over a year. I know the time, the detail, and He's more skilled than I am. This is his niche. These are his abilities that exceed mine from doing a course and basically doing it out of necessity and not like a passion. There's a difference. And I can acknowledge that. And I wanted my time back. So I raised his price to an amount that I wanted to be able to bless him with. And I could, however, over time, I recognized, oh shit, the amount that I'm paying him per month is a car payment. My husband and I still share a car. My lease was up in I think it was 20, at the end of 2020. And I decided, oh, it's COVID. We don't really need a car. So we end up sharing a car. And now we're both tired of doing this shit. And I was so scared of getting a car because I had the doubt of, can I pay a car note? What if I'm working full-time remotely right now and have been for a little over a year. I am still coaching and making a decent amount of money through coaching and podcasting. And I didn't even recognize I had this doubt in my head that, well, I don't know if I can actually pay for a car note. As I'm going through my expenses, right there, blue and white, because it was a blue pen. Oh, I can't pay for a car note. And I remember going into the other room and telling my husband, like, hey, I just went over my expenses. Because now I have a reminder in my calendar that I do it once a month, go over everything, categorize it. And I get really excited because I'm now aware of it. I don't have surprises. I'm actually paying myself. I've raised my prices and had new clients come in and pay those prices. So when you know better, you do better. I have more information. I have more support. I have more resources. I run in and tell my husband, oh my gosh, guess what? I've been having doubt that I couldn't even pay a card note. I've been paying a card note for some time now for editing. And y'all, I wrote the expense out, thought it to myself, I can actually pay a card note. Told my husband, I've been paying a card note through editing. And it has not stopped in my head. Now, y'all know I love y'all. And I want my car. With that information, I made the decision to pause the podcast because that wasn't the only thing. It wasn't just the money. I have bigger visions. I have expanded my capabilities, my skills, and I want to nurture that new learning. And podcasting can be time consuming, just like I decided to release the responsibility of editing my podcast and I placed it on my homie Mike to do. I'm making that decision again of allowing myself to do that. Just breathe, relax, and not be so on all the time. I want to make room for other expansive things and ideas to come through. And maybe it will be the podcast again. I really don't know. And I don't want to blow smoke up your asses and say, yes, we're coming back after a break. I don't know. It could transform into something completely different. I do know I am putting myself out there for more expansive opportunities that will require more of my time, and thus making the decision to make more room. And if you listened this far, I thank you for coming along with me and so many others who have listened to this podcast, who have texted me, who have called me, who have left reviews on Apple, who have rated the podcast 5 stars on Spotify, who have shared. The podcast will still be available. where you listen to your podcast or where you have listened to this podcast. There's so many gems, there's so many seeds that were dropped and planted and have bloomed for the listeners who shared it with their homies or peeps. And I'm forever grateful for that because it's just, I never thought I'd be doing this. And here we are. It is truly amazing. And like I said, I just finished the 12-week program for Jackson Ward Collective Community Business Academy, and we have our graduation coming up June the 7th. I'm so excited to see my cohort members because I really do miss them. Like, we built such a dope-ass bond, and with people I know we will be lifelong friends. We're already trying to schedule double dates, so releasing the energy that is no longer flaming and kind of dwindled down to a flicker has definitely been worth it. And I'm so grateful that I made the decisions to remove those things and allow myself to open up to new possibilities. In addition to that, I have my first paid speaking gig coming up in June, and that has been amazing. I cannot tell you how many times I have applied for things, messaged people, for speaking opportunities to be paid for. And this is with the Untapped Leaders. And I think I met or was shared this information through a networking chat. And I've done so many of these, like literally I'll do it, never hear anything back, or someone say, oh, thanks for your interest, and still never hear anything back. But I'm really excited for this one. This is going to be June the 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern. And it's so cool because I titled it, How Come Common Sense Isn't Common? But it's unstucking yourself in difficult conversations. And we'll be essentially talking about raising your awareness of what works and what doesn't to activate your innate abilities to take purposeful action in any difficult conversations that you see value in performing these. Because I don't believe in just having a difficult conversation just to have a difficult conversation. Like with a person who is just unsafe or unstable or unable or willing to hear you out or listen. So again, I'll put the link in the show notes if you have anybody in mind that would like to participate. It's going to be super interactive. It will not be just me talking like a webinar style. We'll be using the chat, maybe some breakout rooms. So I'm super excited, but you can sign up in the Untapped Leaders community. And again, I'll provide you access to that link. I've said a lot, hopefully by not saying a lot. But please know that I have missed y'all, and I will miss you on this moment of just rest and rejuvenation and releasing and relaxing. And I'm excited. I am. So if you happen to have little withdrawals from the Unstuck Yourself with Crystal Simmons podcast, please go back and re-listen to any of the episodes 1 through 72, or you could play this one, 73. You got this. And remember, stuck moments appear when awareness is feared. Instead, unstuck yourself here. Fly free, peeps. This episode was sponsored by Crystal Clear Purposes.